Welcome to the Belief Breakthrough Show, where we believe that you can achieve the life you dream of simply through shifting your perspective and breaking through your limiting beliefs. With your host, Tina Encarnacion, the author of Stuck in the Fire, a story of resilience, trauma and abuse coach, an energy healer, and Reiki master. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in again for another amazing episode of the Belief Breakthrough Show, where we believe that simply by shifting your perspective and breaking through your limiting beliefs, you can achieve anything you want in life. I am your host, Tina Encarnacion. I am the author of Stuck in the Fire, the story of resilience. I am a trauma and abuse coach, as well as a Reiki energy healer and master. Today, I am bringing to you Dr. Anita Jackson. And boy, you guys, are we in for a treat. As you know, the month of September, we are highlighting therapists and life coaches, and where either one of them belong in our life and our healing journey. And you guys, we are so gifted today because she is not only a life coach, but she spent 20 years as a therapist, and she has combined all of her knowledge, all of her experience, and her life lessons to become who she is today. You guys, she is the founder and CEO of the Unlimited Woman Alliance, Her Global Voices, and AMJ Productions and Publications. She is an absolutely phenomenal woman, and I could tell you her story from a sheet of paper, but that is going to do her absolutely no justice. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the stage over to her so she can tell us more about herself. Go right ahead, Dr. Anita.
Tina, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. And so I just want to say congratulations to you for stepping into this powerful position and making an impact in the lives of others around the world. I applaud you, sister, and I look forward to sharing your message and having more people connect to you in that way. And just thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. I love it. So it's kind of funny when people look at the outside of Anita, and they look at, okay, she's a therapist, she's an organizational psychologist for 15 years, she's an author of several books, she's an author of several magazines that have been awarded to her, she's received awards for speaking on major stages, she spoke on Think and Grow Rich and Spark and all these other large platforms. She has her own TV show, her own TV channel, her own TV network is being formed in the background. She's partners with all these successful people over time, like John Shin and Sharon Lecter and all these people that you've met over the years. I've had the honor of connecting and partnering or working or being in their environment for a long time. And yet, when you look at the outside, it looks all fantastic and it looks great. And you're absolutely right. I have a long success sheet, if you will. Yet, behind that beautiful, gorgeous, shiny mask was a woman who was very depressed, was a woman who was very lonely, was a woman who was so disconnected from her absolute divine truth because she had been conditioned through her own story that the only value I had was in my doing. The only value I had was in my making sure I did everything everyone told me what to do. I grew up in a very strong Christian home, very grateful for that strong background and stand on it to this day, but I'm also spiritually aware and spiritually enlightened and totally understand universal laws and energy and principles and things of that nature, hold on to them very greatly. And I also learned how to hide in be like that best well-known secret, that best kept secret. That's what I'm trying to say. And so here I am doing all these amazing things. And yet behind the scene, I was broken. I was out of alignment. I was tired. And here I am, I'm tall, I'm educated, I'm full figured. And so I have all these kind of dings against me. So I had to really demonstrate that I was good enough through what I did, not really understanding what I am enough really meant. And so my journey of evolution really started in 2011 when I got laid off from my state job. And it was a surprise, to be honest with you, because I had just gotten a huge promotion. I was starting a huge entire program within the CSU system. I was loved on campus. I loved working with college students. I had done exceptionally well, had been deemed the Oprah of that university because I'm not your traditional psychologist who like to stay in their little office and be quiet. I'm an extrovert. I'm like, put me out with the kids, put me on the stage, let me speak to them, and I'll walk around campus. Hi, Dr. AJ, and hi, Dr. Jackson, and hi, all this stuff. That was great to me because that's my personality. But something was still missing. It wasn't full enough. And it really was because my spirit was saying, okay, you've done what you needed to do here. There's more. And when you come from an environment that doesn't want you to rock the boat, that has told you that it's better to be quiet than to be seen, when you're in an environment that has not only trained you professionally to make everybody else more of a priority than yourself, and your spirit rises up inside and says, okay, it's time for you to show up. So you've got this conflict, this cognitive dissonance going on in the inside, this battle, this war, this dark night of the soul. And how I dealt with that is I just worked harder. So I kept getting one degree after the next. So, here I am getting an AA, a BA, 2 masters and a doctorate, and then got to the end. I'll tell you when my real wake up happened. It was July 7th, 2007, 777.
Wow.
Okay. I didn't even see that. A friend of mine pointed that out to me. She goes, you graduated on 777? I'm like, no, I didn't. She goes, yes, you did. Looked at my account. I did. I'm like, oh my God. That day, when I was conferred my doctorate degree, after my family and I had celebrated and I got to my beautiful brand new house that I bought for myself as a graduation present, I walked in the room and had my very first panic attack. I started to hyperventilate. And I've been working as a psychologist for years. I worked with clients who had this challenge for years. And I always knew it was real, but I had never experienced it. I walked into my house. It's dark. No one else is there. And I was faced with, now what do I do? I had been in school for so long, hiding from myself. Didn't see it at that time. I can look back now because hindsight's 2020 and go, yeah, I was hiding from me. I was running from me in a lot of ways and running from the higher calling in my life. So to make this long story very short, I fall on the floor, I have this panic attack, and that was the first awakening. Well, apparently I wasn't smart enough to get it. So, fast forward 79 to 11, 5 years later, then I have, I'm laid off from my state job. And that threw me into a complete whirlwind, as you can imagine, because it seemed like that particular loss hit everything very fast and very hard. So it went one loss after the other. Lost the job, lost the house, lost the man I was supposed to marry, lost the dream, didn't know what I was supposed to do next, was so unclear. And a friend of mine took me to a women's success conference. And that's when I heard about coaching. And I'm like, huh? Wait, there's this whole other field out here? Because I'd been trained as a psychologist. And you mean they make more money than I do? I don't understand. It was a rude awakening in a lot of ways. But it was in there that I realized there's so much more. And then I think once I realized there was more, I still had to do with this internal conflict of, yeah, but as a Black woman, as a Black educated woman, as a Black educated woman who's tall, as a Black educated woman who really shouldn't be seen, or at least that's what I believed, you can't allow yourself to show up in a much bigger way. So just stay back here and just be quiet. You can do little things. And so what that taught me to do is to write books, to make sure everyone else looked great while I was behind the scene. And yet all these other successful, well-known coaches kept saying, yes, Anita, we see you, we see what you're doing, but you're not showing up. You need to come forward. I am. What are you talking about? And it wasn't until years later that I went through another major loss that I really understood what that meant. And so with all that being said, as much as I'm very grateful for all the things I've accomplished, you haven't seen anything yet because of the fact that Anita has now gone through her metamorphosis process, has come out of the heroine's journey, has healed the dark night of the soul, and can now come forward and say, this is what I'm called to do. This is my next level. My next level is to glorify God and to be the best and highest version of myself as possible. And in that, I'm called to create platforms that allows women specifically, and women of color even more specifically, to share their voice so that we can heal our family, our community, and the world. And I'm sticking to that until it's time to go home.
That's amazing. It's amazing that you were willing to step up and show up when you realized you were hiding.
Oh, no, I wasn't willing. Let me just be very transparent. I ran from it. I was lovingly made to be willing. So that's why I keep telling everybody, do the work. Because especially if you've been taught to do things by yourself, I think it's a little bit harder. And if I had really understood the power of, because remember, there's a difference between having information, having knowledge, having wisdom, and then having embodiment. And when it drops to that level of embodiment, that's when I realized that now I could say, I am showing up. I'm willing to go through the journey. Before that, sometimes we can be so much in our head, so much in everyone else's expectation of us that we really don't see that we're not showing up. We really don't see that we're not allowing our voice to be heard. We're not allowing our dreams and our desires to come forward. We are still unconsciously, subconsciously anxious or worried or fearful that someone will judge us if we really stated, I want to be a billionaire. You know, we may say it inside, we won't say it out to the world because we're afraid of what they're going to say. So, of course, I've got that feeling of if I told somebody I really wanted to be a celebrity, not a Hollywood celebrity, I don't give a rat's patootie about that, but I do want to be a celebrity within the self-development world, which is probably why I've done all the things that I've done. That's a part of me was willing to show up in that level. Now it's time to go to a whole nother level where Anita is showing up. And I've been asked to speak more in the past couple of months than I think I ever have. And I've been lucky. I've always been able to speak. But it seems like it's just been an overflow of opportunities to speak on various platforms. And I'm very, very grateful. And they're getting bigger and they're getting bolder. And I'm being asked to connect to these other successful. If I said their names, you all would know them. They're very, very well known. And I'm being asked to step up into that level now. And I'm like, oh, yay, this is good.
How exciting.
Because I had to be willing to allow myself to say, that's really what I want. That's my burning DNA, cellular, divine calling is to be that level. I'm going to give myself permission to own that. And then I think the moment you do without apology, that's when the universe starts to meet you at that level because it's real. Does that make sense?
Complete sense. Now, you said in your story that you realized you were hiding from yourself. And that was very powerful because when I hired my first life coach, I came to that revelation of it. It was actually me and my husband. So I'm a mother of 4. Me and my husband were going to be going to Hawaii for just a weekend, just by ourselves. And he was going to be competing in a Spartan race the entire weekend, which meant I was going to be by myself for the first time ever in my entire life, by myself. And I didn't want to go and I couldn't figure out why. And so I was talking to my life coach about, I really don't want to go. Like who turns down a weekend in Hawaii?
Right.
All expenses paid, right? Who does that in their right mind? Who does that? And then I realized as I was talking to her, I was like, you know what it is? I've never had to be by myself. And I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am. I don't know what I like.
Yes.
I don't know how to sit with me and listen.
Yes.
And
I
that
think
is
a lot
really
of women don't know how to do that. I think a lot of women don't know how to do that.
Yeah. And so that was going to be my question to you is, because we've both been there, how do you open up the eyes of these women that spend their entire lives busying themselves and running from themselves to pause and drop down into their heart and explore who they are as a person and begin to embrace it? Like, what advice would you give that woman?
Well, I don't know if there are really these step-by-step points or advice to connecting to yourself. I think we all know that we should. It's innately inside us that we should do it, but we've been so conditioned and trained not to listen to that divine, intuitive, psychic piece of ourselves. And so the more we disconnect from that, what happens is I think God, source, and spirit will lovingly put us in certain circumstances to make us deal with it. And that was my case. How I was hiding is because I grew up as a child. I had a lot of trauma as well, which is why I have an expertise in trauma. I grew up in a family where there was domestic violence. I grew up in a family where there was alcoholism. I grew up in a family where there was a lot of you couldn't, and then I'm ADHD. So of course, I'm a hyper child. So I just caused more problems. And I learned very, very quickly that, wow, if I show up in my bigness, if I show up in my greatness, if I allowed myself to truly be seen, I get in trouble. At least that's what my little mind concluded. So I shrunk down and even tried to hide. I put on a lot of weight. Luckily, I'm tall, so I don't look like I have a lot of weight, but I'm heavy. My doctor says I'm obese. I almost punched him that day, but that's another story. I'm like, you said what? Anyways, you end up realizing how much you start to hide, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And then the advice that I want to give everybody is you will have an opportunity in your life. You're going to have that heroin moment. You're going to have that dark night of the soul. If you don't pay attention to your own intuition, if you don't pay attention to the signs that are probably already around you trying to call you forward before that existential crisis comes forward and you have no choice but to deal with it, then that's when you're going to deal with it. So you didn't have a crisis. You just had an uncomfortable moment. And luckily you had a partner, like I said before, you had someone there, this life coach, to kind of be the outside voice to see things that you can't see because you're so close to it, and then point out you're not with yourself. I didn't have that. I wasn't supposed to have that because I'm supposed to be that. So I had to go through the journey so that I can say, here's one thing you need to know. If you don't really connect to your divinity and accept all of who you are as, no matter how good, no matter how bad, no matter how ugly it is, I don't care how traumatic and how disgustingly ugly it is, all of it serves a powerful purpose for your higher divinity and your higher calling to live your highest and most abundant life. And the moment you make all of it valuable, that's when you start to connect to yourself. The problem is we don't do that. We're told, especially as women, and if you're a woman of color especially, not to. You just ignore that. And so what happens is the more you ignore it, I do believe with all my heart, God, source, spirit in the universe are going to come alongside and said, you're still not listening. So let's see, what can we do to get your attention? And then wham, you've got something across the head and you have no choice but to deal with yourself. And then when that happens, if I can give advice to what happens when that happens, one, forgive yourself. Take a deep breath, pause, and go, I'm here. This doesn't mean I'm good or bad or ugly. It just meant I'm here. And now that I'm here, I get to decide. That word, I get to make a decision. That word decision means I get to reach a definite conclusion. The conclusion is, do I want to stay here or am I willing to do the work so I can evolve and heal, go through a metamorphosis maybe, transmute what I've gone through into something higher, and then move into my next level? And then get help, get help, get help, get help. Do not do this by yourself. Get the right type of help to support you, and someone who's going to lovingly, see you in your greatness and hold you accountable to your crap. Lovingly.
Now that leads me into my next question, because as especially women come into the realization of, holy cow, I'm in crisis mode, or I'm about to be in crisis mode if I don't figure out what to do, but they don't know what help to get. There's so much out there, and the noise can be overwhelming, and so overwhelming you just shut down and don't do anything. We've got hypnosis, we've got Reiki, we've got coaching, we've got therapy, there's just abundance of I can help you. And then you've got those people online that don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're like, pay me $10,000, I'll give you the life you want, right? And so just the noise is insane. The beautiful thing is you have been in the industry of healing for so long and at different angles now. What would you suggest, like for someone that's like, where do I begin? What is your advice?
Okay, so this is such a powerful question because believe it or not, just a couple weeks ago, I was kind of in that space myself. And I think when you're going through an ascension, when you're going through an evolutionary process and you're moving into your next level, sometimes those kinds of situations come in. And what I did was I was supposed to have a virtual retreat, and for whatever reason, we chose not to do it at the time because the enrollments were low. So I could have just canceled. I actually chose to go to a hotel and just to spend time by myself and lead the retreat from that place. Well, instead of canceling, I decided I'm just going to go ahead and go through with it. Go by myself. I'm going to keep the appointment that I had. And so to answer your question, when you're in that place where there's so much noise inside you or so much noise around you, you have to find a quiet place where you can reconnect to your own spirit, soul, and body. So get away from your environment. Hotels are open. They're not open for big appointments or big events, but you could still go to a hotel for, I would say, at least 2 nights, no less than that. Because the first night you're just going to be tired and you're just going to want to be able to sleep and just watch TV on your own and walk around the house butt naked, not caring about anybody coming in on you at any time. Just do what you got to do. Drink what you need to drink, eat what you need to drink, watch what you need to watch, do what you need to do, just so that you can get your body to settle for a while. At that time, I would suggest maybe do some journaling, you do some saging, you do take a nice, beautiful hot bath with some essential oils and Epsom salt, just so you can go through a purification and releasing process. Then the next day, spend time really in prayer, in meditation, and getting back to your intuition. Your intuition knows exactly what you need to do. And the moment you're willing to be quiet enough to listen to her, she will reveal to you what your next steps are. And if you don't know how to connect to her on your own, you know how many meditations are out there that you can listen to that will guide you to that process so that you can connect to her? Shucks, I even have one. Download that one. And then you connect to your higher self, that prayer, connect to God, connect to source, connect to spirit, connect to you. And I would journal and go, what's really good in my life right now? What's not so good? Or what's working? What's not working? And am I willing to let go of what's not working anymore? And the moment you can make a decision to let go, really let go. And letting go doesn't mean just ignore it. It means, thank you for being in my life for the time that you were here. Thank you for the lesson that I've learned. I don't need you anymore. You've served your purpose, so I can release you. If you can do it in that way, 9 times out of 10, I promise you it will dissipate and you probably won't have that challenge again. But when you ignore it and when you deny it and when you just kind of like, okay, I just don't have to deal with that anymore, it's gone, it's a different energy. Did you notice the difference between the two? So then you get quiet, you get connected to yourself, you actually do some introspection on where am I, what works, what doesn't work, where am I going, and where I'm thinking I want to go, is that really where I want to go? Am I being really authentic and true to myself? If something in me says, I really want to be an 8-figure business owner, but I can't say that to my family because they're going to think I'm crazy, then what happens is you've denied that part of you that has that big burning, yearning, calling, and desire that that's what you're supposed to have in your life. If they're not ready to align with you, then leave them there. God bless them. Let them stay there. You go do the work and get the people who can help you make that happen and keep working on it until you get there. You'll get there. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. Now, for those that the noise is so loud and they don't know how to connect with that intuition, because me and you both know, like, intuition's where the healing begins.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But we've got, especially in the United States, and I think we're kind of headed towards more of that that spiritual knowing rather than the intellectual knowing. But we're just beginning to scrape that surface. So people that have been programmed to only intellectually think, there's no spiritual piece of us. Yes.
Spiritual. Come on now.
Yes. And that's why I'm bringing this up with you, because I think that you are an amazing person to speak on this. Is at what point do you drop out of the intellectual, and how do you disconnect from that intellectual piece of you and allow that spiritual embodiment to rise up? Because programming is powerful.
Yes, that is a great question. And I'm kind of looking at my life and going, how did I develop that? And the only thing I can say is I think I always had a spiritual high level of intuition, even as a child. It was already there. And I had conditioned myself not to listen to that. So I guess the first thing I would say is, first, every single woman on this planet, even men, but women more so, you were designed with intuition inside you. pure and simple. It's a part of your, if I can think of it, talk to you from a brain-based science perspective, and I think I know this correctly. Your sense of knowing, your intuition is connected to part of your brain. Part of, all of a sudden, I just went blank on the term. There's an actual term for it. And there's certain chemicals that move through your body. Serotonin is one. That serotonin deals with your moods and your emotions. And so that's a part of your intuition. Your sense of knowing is I guess what I'm trying to say is every single woman has intuition inside her. The deal is she probably hasn't listened to it or trusted enough to develop it so it's strong enough. So when there's all this kind of noise, how do you get connected to it? I think my life circumstances made me make this a priority. The best way I can say to develop your intuition is through prayer and meditation, my connection to God and my faith. That helped me probably more than anything else. And then, of course, developing other practices. So emotional freedom techniques, so tapping, that helped. Using coaches who did what I use is access consciousness. I haven't really done a Reiki session yet, don't really know it, but I'm assuming it's a lot like access consciousness, which is another kind of energy modality. And I can't tell you why it works, but it does. It has changed my life tremendously. And I'm looking at it going, maybe I should become a coach for that because I really like that system a great deal. There's this new medical device that's coming out to help balance your energy frequency, actually help you heal your cells, heal your DNA, and raise your energy and frequency. So that's out. So I think part of your developing your intuition really means you have a desire to reconnect to that. You have a desire to connect to the God self inside you. Think of it this way. Thank you. Your intuition, your God self is nothing's missing, nothing's broken. Everything inside you is whole and complete. And when that becomes your truth, when you decide, when you reach a definite conclusion that is going to be your truth, I think that's when your intuition starts to wake up. When you say, there's nothing wrong with you, I just haven't taken the time to listen to you because of what's going on the outside. So I'm going to make an effort to connect to you. Show me how. I promise you, she will show you how to connect to her, whether it's in nature, and you probably already do it. Let's say you go for a walk in nature and you're relaxed and you're enjoying the breeze in your hair and the beautiful flowers in front of you and the trees in the distance. And you see some children outside playing and laughing, and you have a response to that. There's something in you that has a thought that comes up. That's part of your gut. That's part of your spirit. That's part of your intuition. I think we use all of these words interchangeably when the truth is, from my humble perspective, that's your higher self. That's your God self. And she knows, he knows exactly what you need to hear in that moment. And when something comes up, be willing to just be quiet and listen.
That is a challenge.
Yeah,
that is a challenge right there. I think for a lot of us.
It does take time. It does take time. But like the fact that you can say 2 + 2 is 4, the only reason you know that is you practice it and you heard it over and over and over and over and over again. And so now the same thing comes in. I was telling a friend, we were going shopping and I said, hey, you should try liquid eyeliner because she was getting the stick and it was bleeding on the side. She says, I can't use it. And I said, just like you learned how to use the stick, you can learn how to use the liquid. Same principle applies here. Just like you learned how to drive your car, you can learn how to listen to your intuition. Just like you learned how to do this particular video, you can learn how to listen to your intuition. There's nothing on this planet you can't do. You've just convinced yourself you can't do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was taking an intuitive training course, and he said, your intuition is like a muscle. Just like if you want big biceps, you've got to go to the gym and you have to lift that muscle. You can't think about lifting that weight and build big muscles. You have to actually put in the work, right? And so your intuition is the same. You have to build it up. So during that meditation course, I didn't realize what I was getting into, the intuition course, but they started with the meditation. Now, I've been meditating for years. I love meditation. That is my Zen spot. Like I literally start every day off with coming into my healing room and meditating.
Yes.
So we started with the meditation. The intuition course, the first day was meditation, and we meditated for 2 minutes. And I was like, what is that? What? That wasn't even like, I was just barely getting in. and he was saying, this class is a beginner class. Most people cannot even meditate for 2 minutes. And so we are going to build you up to where you can meditate for an hour.
Yeah.
And by the end of the class, they're meditating for 2 hours. And I was like,
Yes.
it's been 2 hours already. But it
Yes.
did take that time. I realized that my limit was 30 minutes. Anything after 30 minutes, I was like in the chair, I was like uncomfortable. And then by the end of the 12-week course, 2 hours in, and I was like, oh, we're done already? Like,
Yeah, because it
so
starts
it's
to move
just,
fast because you've now created the habit. It's part of your
yes.
character, it's part of your being. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're
Here's
right.
something else too. I listened to that, and I'm so grateful that you had that experience, and I've gone through those kinds of trainings as well. And I want people to, from my humble perspective, to understand there's a difference between prayer and meditation. Prayer is you're talking to God, talking to your higher self. Meditation is just listening. And the reason why I think so many people struggle with listening is if you really think about it, we're bombarded with noise and sound and information and messages 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Absolutely.
It's not that you can't be still, it's you've been trained not to be still. And if you could be willing to, that's why I think the hotel was so amazing, because I turned everything off and just sat there. Sat there for a while and realized, look, all I can do is listen to the sound of the freeway on the outside, or listen to my dog who's with me breathing, or listening to I'm playing some music in the background and something that was soft. And I noticed my body started to relax. I noticed my mind started to relax. I think part of developing that intuition and connecting to God is the willingness to know that you're safe even in silence. I think we've become comfortable in noise, thinking that that's what makes us feel alive. That's what makes us feel in the moment. That's what makes us feel we're not missing out on anything. And the truth be told, because we're in so much noise and energy and frequency and everybody else's junk, we are missing out. We're missing out on connecting to ourselves. We're missing out on connecting to God. We're missing out on connecting to the purity of life. And when you do that, you can't receive. When you're so caught up in everything else, you're not open to receive anything. That's what I learned about intuition. Intuition taught me how to receive, and that's a muscle too. And in order to receive wealth, abundance, love, relationship, opportunities, all those things work together. I think too many people, my humble perspective, is a lot of coaches are one-sided or the other. I think it's fascinating. I watch it all the time. It has to be this way. And I'm like, I don't see that. And I think because I have the background as a psychologist and as a coach, I am very focused on why can't all of it exist? Now, there are certain circumstances where that does not apply, or there's conditions where that doesn't apply. But most of the time, if we can say, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. It's driving me bonkers right now. A lot of coaches are saying things from a business perspective. You can make 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, and you don't have to do funnels, and you don't have to do these complicated ads. You don't have to do it. And it drives me crazy because my thought is that's probably true. But 9 times out of 10, most people who are not where you are, they probably do have to do a combination of things in order to get there until they're at a place where they no longer have to do that. So it took you some time to do it. So why would you tell someone to start where you are when it took you time to get there as well? So what am I trying to say and bring this home to is give yourself permission to allow all of it to have meaning and to have purpose and to exist. And just rest in it that it's all for your highest good. Again, good, bad, or ugly. All of it is for your highest good. And when you finally make that true, everything starts to get easy. Everything starts to get easy. It starts to flow so much better.
Yes, that's so beautifully said. So, Dr. Jackson, can you give these viewers 3 gold nuggets of how they can shift their perspective, break through their limiting beliefs, and achieve the life that they desire?
Oh, 3. Well, so yes, I will give you 3. Let me sit with it so I can just discern for your audience what would be the best 3. So if you're wanting to shift, I think the first thing you have to decide is that you're ready to go through this evolutionary process. Because if you're not really ready to go through it, you're going to have this experience and then come back to that old behavior again. Because at the core, most of us have these set points. And these set points were designed by our patterns and our experiences in life. And at the core, we want to be comfortable. And we're either going to stay on the side of pleasure, we're either going to go towards pleasure or towards pain, or we're going to run from pain. One of those things are going to happen. So there's these set points in there. And is if you aren't in a position to want to change your life, the likelihood of you changing your life is pretty slim. You'll move between 1 or 2 degrees on either side. So once you make a decision you want to change, then you have to be willing to do the work. And that means looking at all of you, again, kind of like what I've been saying throughout the whole entire time we've been talking. You got to look at the good, the bad, the ugly, and determine what part do I play in allowing these limitations to be in my life. Mm-hmm. Is it in my language? Is it in my behaviors that have become my habits? Is it in the relationships that I've had, or have I allowed myself to settle for less when I knew better? Let's say my intuition told me to do something and I did the opposite of it, and now I'm suffering the consequences of not listening to my truth. Am I willing to not beat myself up, but at least acknowledge, okay, I did that, learn from it, and then move on? And I think that's the key thing. If you can look at your life and assess, what was I supposed to learn, and did I learn it? Because if you didn't learn it, you're going to probably repeat that lesson again. And it keeps coming. And that's one of the ways you can tell if you've got a set point or limitations is, are you having the same experiences over and over and over and over again? If you are, that means you haven't learned the lesson. You haven't really taken the time to sit and evaluate or assess what's going on. And that's probably when you need help. You need to go reach out to someone who can see that blind spot that you can't see anymore because you've been in it for so long. And that's going to help you begin to move past those limitations. So again, number one, deciding that you're willing to do the work. 2, go do the work and get the support to go do it. And 3, be gentle with yourself. I think we are so hard on ourselves, especially women. And I think when we're hard, we're tight. And when we're tight, we pull back. And when we pull back, we miss the opportunity to actually let it go so that we can blossom into and move into our next level. And know that you weren't designed to do it alone. You were not. I don't care what anybody says on this planet. You will never be able to convince me that we were designed to live life and do life and experience life alone. We weren't. We were designed to do it in relationship with other people, with God, ourselves, and other people, in that order, from my humble perspective.
Absolutely. Those are all amazing nuggets. Great, very informative. I loved all of them. So if people are like, oh my gosh, I need some Dr. Jackson in my life.
Come on over.
Right? Where can they find you?
Well, one of the places where you can find me giving a lot of support on a regular basis is in my Facebook group called Power Her Success Community. I would love to have all of you come there. It's free, it's open, it's public. It's 2 women. Sorry, guys, don't have anything for you yet. Yet is the operative word, but that's one way. And the other way you can connect to me is through my website, which is under my name, dranitaMjackson.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and your wisdom. It was amazing. Definitely a gift from God having you here with us. Yes. And everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Belief Breakthrough Show. If you want to join a community of like-minded individuals and begin your healing journey, you are welcome to join our Facebook group, Women Empowered to Heal. Again, that is our Facebook group, Women Empowered to Heal. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you are alerted when we go live, and share this amazing episode with all of your friends who need to know how to break out of their head and drop into their heart. You guys, thanks for staying with us. Have an amazing day. We'll see you on the next